guys? It's Adam Rose with Western Ohio Mortgage. I'm the Vice President Senior Loan Officer here in Sydney, Ohio, and this is another episode of the Mortgage Guy podcast. And this is the one where you get to know Derek Fink from Home Experts Realty. So first off, I wanted to say thank you, Derek, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on, and everybody's schedules are a little crazy, right? So it's like, well, I don't know when I'm going to do it, and so we finally got it scheduled. Right. It's in the middle of the day. So anyways, to start this off, I wanted to bring Derek on because, you know, a lot of people know who you are, right?
Right.
You're all over Facebook.
Right.
The Boom Man.
The boom. You know, I actually got that from my mentor, Chris Howard. He always put things on Facebook. His was like the strong arms, you know, right. So I came up with the boom.
So shout out to Patty Armstrong from Brokers, but like anytime I talk to her, she goes, "No, I got a contract with the Boom Man." I'm like, "Yeah, I know you're talking about already."
That's great.
So first off, I want let's let everybody get to know you a little bit. Okay. So I just wanted to hear a little background about yourself. You know, like where are you from? Are you married? You got kids? You know, what are you involved with?
Yeah, well, my name is Derek Fink, as Adam said. I run an office here in town, Home Experts Realty. Mm-hmm. I have about 13 agents that I mentor. So I'm married to a beautiful wife, Jenna, and I have a 15-year-old daughter, Eliana, and a 13-year-old son, Sam. We moved back to Sydney. I was born and raised here. We moved back about 3 years ago, and Adam helped me get a loan, which actually no mortgage lender could get me a loan at that time, and that's how Adam and I connected, and here we are.
What's funny is we did a couple of deals. I think you had a listing up here.
Yes.
And that's how because you were in Dayton.
Yes,
right?
Correct. Yep.
Around Vandalia.
Tent City area and Huber Heights area. So.
Right, so that's kind of how we connected, and I said, hey, we should do some more deals together. But it's really hard, being in those different markets. It's challenging
for sure
to get clients to go that far because you want to stay as local as you can. So you got a big family, and it sounds like you're busy a lot.
Yeah, busy a lot. This is baseball and softball season. Eliana plays for varsity. Sydney fast pitch, and Sam plays for the middle school. So it's every night we're heading to 2 baseball games tonight. We're splitting up. Jenna's heading to watch Eliana and Vandalia, and I'm heading to see Sam and Tip. So. Yeah,
very good, very good. So real estate agent. So when you were a kid, is that what you thought? Like when you were a little kid, you're like, you know what? I can see it now. I'm going to be showing people homes for a living. Yeah. Did you think real estate was in the cards for you?
I'd never in a million years. I mean, I didn't even know, how to use a hammer.
Right.
So, I didn't know anything about houses. I played baseball. I was varsity my sophomore year.
Yeah.
I grew up in kind of a rough home, so, I just kind of went the wrong path and got into doing some of the wrong things and dropped out of school. And honestly, I didn't know where my path was going to go. Yeah. I thought I was going to be, who knows, dead in a ditch somewhere or locked away for the rest of my life.
Right. So on this topic of real estate agent, so who inspired you to kind of jump into this market? Like what brought you in?
Yeah, well, so we started flipping houses about 15 years ago. Yeah. I was kind of in that 9 to 5, and I told my wife, I said, I think we can sell this house and, make a little money, and maybe we could do it again,
right.
And she's like, okay, it was our forever home. We had about 5 acres out in Piqua, and but she let me get crazy and take that leap. And so anyway, that started just going, and everybody kept telling me, hey, you should be a real estate agent, And
right.
so, I was listening, but I guess, long story short, Ohio's a state where you're guaranteed to not get your real estate license the first try if you have a felony on your record. So some of that bad stuff I was telling you about before, I had a felony on my record from my past, and I had changed my life. And finally, all those years, I was like, do I really want to, pay for the school, go to class, and then find out I can't get a license? And I had been 20 years removed from any trouble in my life, and I finally decided to take that leap. And it's kind of cool. I went in there with 45 letters of recommendation.
45? That took some work.
You have to say, my life had been changed. And by the end of that hearing, the prosecutor for the state board had actually started asking me questions with a smile on her face to lead me into answers that made me look that much better. And I'll just never forget it when the superintendent announced that she was overturning the decision of the board. Or the board was overturning the decision of the superintendent.
Right.
She said, "I'm really happy to announce that they're overruling my decision."
Right. So I mean, the thing is that the superintendent probably doesn't look that far into it.
Correct.
They see it and they're like, "Nope, sorry."
Yeah, you're just a number on a page, right? And I understand that. And
that's why they have the board, so they can really dive into it a little bit further. So,
and like I said, I think it's a great checks and balances to have. I mean, you just don't want anybody out here helping people with real estate deals. I mean, we're talking about a lot of money here.
Yeah, so, if government only worked like that all the time, right?
That's so true.
So in this market, the market's been a little crazy, right? We went through 2020 2020 and 2021 where we were so busy we didn't even know what to do, right? And then it starts to slow down a little bit, and and we're in today's market where we're finding ourselves with challenges, not necessarily with how many buyers in the market, but how many listings or how many people are wanting to sell their house, and so what kind of challenges have you been faced with personally in this market as a real estate professional?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is there's still a very strong market for anything under 200,000. When we get above that 200,000 mark, obviously interest rates have really changed that. Payments are getting north of $2,000 a month, and
yes,
that's just tough. Even if with a husband and wife both working, I mean, those are challenging payments. And then I think there's the challenge of the uncertainty of where things are going to go, and so this is going to be tough right now.
I mean, we
no
have
way to sugarcoat it, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, we have so many buyers.
Yes.
I mean, there are a ton, and a lot of people talk about, well, there's going to be a crash. No, there's not, because we just have a natural supply and demand issue, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think that the rates have impacted a person's want to purchase the house as much as one would think, right? And now it's going to impact what the sellers want to do, right?
Absolutely.
Because some of those sellers might have been in those houses for the last 5-10 years, and they refinanced in 2020, 2021. They got these 2.5s and stuff. And so that's a challenge.
It really is.
So we're going to be faced with that for a little while, and we're really hoping that these – okay, I keep doing this crystal ball thing, right? So I'm not going to go down this road. So here's the next question I'm going to ask you, and it might come back up again. So, where do you see us in 6 months? Where do you see this market in 6 months? Because I feel like Shelby County's pretty resilient.
Right.
From the jobs front and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So what do you think?
Yeah, so first off, I get asked that question obviously all the time in my business, and first thing I always say, it's funny you said crystal ball. I said I don't have a crystal ball.
Yep.
And anybody that tells you they does are lying to you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I remember last year, they said that rates were going to about this time. They said rates were going to tick up, and we'd probably hit about 4.5% by the end of the year. Well, we all know how that worked out.
Right.
We blew past that.
Yes.
So that shows you what the experts know.
Correct. It moved very fast.
Correct. So, but with that said, going back to eventually everyone's going to settle back in and realize that buying is still better than renting. If you need to move for family purposes, I have a client that I'm currently working with, and they're at a 2.75 interest rate, and it is, and they're like, it hurts to leave, but they're like, we want to be back around our kids, and finally you realize what's more important to me, my family or my money. And you realize, it's worth a couple $100 extra a month to make a payment, so I can be where I want to be versus, okay, I'm saving some money, but I'm driving an hour and a half to see my kids.
Right. And I've alluded to this on past videos, and I've talked to clients about it. Rates are starting to slip a little bit. Right, I don't ever quote rates on here because I don't want to put a bunch of terms out there. Each person's a little different. You're probably all this stuff, but they really are. And in the month of May, the new consumer price index will be coming out, and we have some pretty strong feelings based off historical data and what we're seeing, that may be the start of the slide.
That'd be nice.
We hope, right? And the mortgage banker's projection by the end of the year, again, we know how that went before,
exactly.
Right? But the MBA is expecting by the end of the year that we might be hovering around that low to mid 5s range. Let's hope.
I really think that's the sweet spot for our industry.
I really do. I think that's normal, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we got so spoiled for 2 years
Absolutely.
that everybody's like, 4%. Oh my God, that's crazy, right? That's amazing. What are you talking about? You can't do anything at 4%. So if we get back into that normal market, I feel like it's going to spur some listings.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Yep.
And the other thing that's hurting us is the amount of new construction that's going on is much, much lower than where it should be.
Absolutely.
And
we've been like that for years.
It has been. So, it has been. It really got bad during COVID because the cost of construction, the cost of skilled labor, and the supply chain issues and all this stuff. And they were the Builders Association is talking about how they're barely staying afloat because they're just they just can't do it because the costs are too high. I mean, I saw some remodels and new construction costing $300 a square foot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts, right? So we got to bring that puppy down. So. Just a little tidbit there. Anyways, moving on to the next piece. So you're staying busy, right?
Yeah.
And business is picking up for us pretty good. What I mean, if assuming you're not sharing any trade secrets, of course.
Right.
But what do you attribute your success to? Because I see you on Facebook constantly. There's always new listing, in contract, boom this, boom
Right.
that. It's everywhere, man. So, so what are you doing? Like, what are you doing differently? What are you, the activity levels? Is it just being visual on social media and people know who you are? You know, what is it?
So I really felt like when I was going to do this thing, I said I wanted to transcend the way real estate was done. You know, I've had agents in the past where, you know, I was flipping houses for 15 years and I'd call them on Monday. Hey, this new house just hit the market. I need to be in there ASAP. Well, I might have some time on Thursday to show you.
That doesn't work.
It does not work. And so I just said I was going to be different. I'm going to be that guy that answers the phone. I'm going to be the guy that, you know, if it's 11 o'clock at night and you need me, you know, I always say we're not selling shoes and T-shirts here. You know, we're selling, you know, things that are, it's the most money that most people will ever spend in their life.
Correct.
And so emotions are high. You know, psychology's like going everywhere. Emotions are going everywhere. And I represent them. So I need to be there, you know, when they need me, not Thursday instead of Monday, you know, and it's like, you know, I always say I flipped houses for 15 years. You know, my wife and I and kids, we moved every 2 years for 7 years or 15 years. So 7 times to take care of, you know, to take advantage of the tax credit. And, you know, I know what it's like when your house falls apart. You know, you're about to sell your house. I had the U-Haul truck on order ready to pick up the next morning, and my deal fell through. So I know what that's like. I'm not just telling my clients, oh, man, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry this has happened. I've lived that. So I can enter into that emotion with them and say, hey, I am sorry. Like, I know this hurts. I know this is hard. But there's a way to navigate this, and here's how we're going to navigate it. And we're actually going to go back on the market, and we're actually going to sell your house for more than we were under contract before. And in the end, you're actually going to smile and laugh about this. So I think, you know, that's just, you know, again, being available to my clients. And when I first decided to do this thing, I really felt like, because God changed my life, and I really felt like he spoke to me, and he said, Derek, if you take care of people, I'll take care of your paycheck. And he's been beyond faithful.
I think I've read that in some of your posts before. So, you know, I'm glad you brought up the word U-Haul. Okay, so so we had, I don't remember who the agents were. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. The deal was not closed yet. Okay, I had the buyers. So the buyers showed up to property with a U-Haul truck with all their stuff. We're a week out. How do you handle that conversation?
I hope I never have to. That doesn't sound like a fun
It was
one
terrible. So I'm sorry. You said U-Haul. I'm like, there it went. I'm like, I remember this one. So I don't remember who had that. But interesting.
It actually sounds familiar. I'm not sure who, but I feel like I've heard that story before.
Yeah, that's happened. I think it was my client. So anyways, trying to get through this. So, you know, you're very busy, and you talked about God a lot and how it changed your life, and you have a family. So I have a feeling I already have the answer to this question. But because this industry is very challenging. It really is, because not every deal is the same. Right?
Everyone's different.
As a lender, not every deal is the same.
Absolutely.
As a realtor, not every deal is the same. The buyers are different. The way they communicate is different. What they're thinking, are they lying to you? Are they being honest? Or you know, their emotions are high. The property's different. I mean, everything is always different. Okay. And so we go through some ups and downs and some challenges as the representation of the buyers, right? And you have the sellers. What keeps you going? Like, what's your why? You know, my why is my family. That's why I am the breadwinner. My wife stays at home because we have 2 special needs children, and she runs the show at home. And so it's my job to make sure she can continue to do that.
Absolutely.
That's my why.
And that is my why as well. My family always comes first. I've done a lot of posts lately because I got so busy so fast. It was hard to navigate that, you know, and it's like, how do I stay true to my family yet help people? But that's my, you know, beyond my family, that is my main why. But my secondary why is I just want people to have good representation. You know, like I always share this one story. I had a young lady that called me. She was a single mom, and she felt like she was being pushed towards kind of a higher end home. And, you know, she called me, said, hey, I've heard good things about you. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. We started looking at a house. We got into a house that's half the price. And you know what? She like messages me here and there and just thanks me. You know, like, wow, thanks for getting me into that house that I could afford. My house payment is cheaper than all my friends' rent that I work with, and it's just, that's why, because I know, you know, and there's a lot of great agents in this industry. Don't get me wrong, and I just know that it's hard. It's, you know, psychologically to look out for the other person over yourself. You know, it's easy in the middle of a crazy deal, like you talk about all these emotions and everything's crazy and everything's different. Man, it's easy to look and be like, well, if I just said this or if I just said that, this could really work out in my favor. Right. But when push comes to shove, am I going to do that, or am I going to be the man that has some integrity and character and says, you know what, no, that's not what's best for you. Right. You know, I've talked myself out of a few listings here lately because it just didn't make financial sense for them to leave the interest rate they had to go to another one. But then I've also talked through some other people where, you know what, it might not make financial sense, but it makes sense according to the way you're living your life.
Right. Maybe emotionally and be like, I need this.
Exactly. I need to get out of this house. You know, maybe I need to get closer to a job or closer to family. And I feel like I'm very good at navigating that. Right. And, you know, help them, lead them towards making their own decision, but they know that I have their best interests in mind and not my own. So.
Yep. I actually have video evidence of me kind of talking about this same thing. So when I was at the TMC conference in San Diego a couple of weeks ago, Joe, I just call him Joe from Social Coach, right? He runs a social media platform, and I was on his podcast, and I just sent out some YouTube shorts on it. Yeah. And he was just talking about, you know, how are you doing your business? Why do you do what you do? You know, how do you become a top producer? And I was just honest. It's like, listen, I give people facts. It's really what I do.
Absolutely.
I'm empathetic to their situation.
Correct.
I understand their situation, and I'm going to tell them and give them their best options.
Right.
And if they want to roll with it, fantastic. I think this is a great decision.
Right.
If they don't want to go with me or go a different way, okay. Hey, hopefully the information I gave you, you made the right decision.
Yeah.
And I make them decide, right? I don't sell them.
Absolutely.
I just give them the options. They make the decision. They come back, right?
Yeah, I think that's huge.
I think, and
that's why we do business together.
Yeah,
because we see eye to eye in that, you know. And I mean, you're always, you know, I send out 3 lenders to every you know,
correct.
every
Yes,
person. But
absolutely.
I mean, you're the top of the list that whole time, you know, and not because I'm getting anything, you know. It's because I know you're going to take care of my customer the way or client the way that I would take care of my client.
I try to take care of people the way I would want to be spoken to.
Yep.
Right. I don't want to be sold. I hate that.
Right.
There's nothing worse than that.
Right.
All right, so that's going to kind of conclude our topics. Now, there is one last little thing here.
Right.
Okay. Gotta stretch up, loosen up. You said I need to be prepared for this. I hope you remember. Do you have a crazy ass real estate story or something? What do you got? What do you got for me?
So anyway, I mean, I have a lot of crazy stories, but that way I don't throw anybody else under the bus because I know everybody's going to watch.
Let's keep names out of this thing.
I'm going to stick.
I hope everybody watches it. Okay, we need some more subscribers.
So I'm going to tell a story about myself. So I literally had just got my license. You know, I'm getting started. I'm thinking I'm just going to rock this thing. You know, everybody's been telling me for years, Derek, you're going to rock this thing. And my first client was my sister and my brother-in-law, and they have a house they want to see, and it's a foreclosure. And I'm pumped because I had just worked at Orkin, and I was
I remember that.
Yeah, I was an inspector for them, so I was in the crawl spaces and attics, and you know, going back to how I'm going to transcend real estate, right? So I think I'm going to be an inspector and a real estate agent all in one, you know. So anyway, so I'm in this house, and man, we're looking around, and I'm like, pointing things out, you know, and then we're up in the attic, and I'm pointing things out. Well, I'm used to being in the attic all by myself. I'm not used to having a conversation and moving my hands. Well, next thing you know, I'm talking to him, and I turn around, and boom, I fall down, and my foot goes through the ceiling. So there I am, laying on the ground in the attic. My foot's dangling. I hear my sister's like, what's going on?
It wasn't Clark Griswold or anything on Christmas Vacation where you land on the top bunk.
So thank goodness, you know, that so it was a foreclosure, thank goodness. So I didn't fall through and land in somebody's living room. And so it was just in the garage. Okay. So I called the agent, you know, it's like the call of shame, you know, and I'm just like, I'm showing this how I put my foot through the ceiling. She's like, well, it's just a foreclosure and it's bank owned. She's like, maybe we won't say nothing. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
You should have been like, excuse me, did you know you had a hole in the ceiling of the garage?
I know, right?
We can't buy this place. There's no way. If you're going to treat it like this.
She's like, well, they're probably going to remodel it anyway. But then, so the story doesn't end there. I wish it did. But so then I get all the way back to the house, and I'm kind of like, oh, man, like, I hope I'm cut out for this stuff,
right.
You know, like, what am I doing, you know? And so I'm sitting there, and I see the other agents calling me back, and I'm like, I wonder what this is. And she's like, do you have the keys by any chance? And I'm like, Oh my gosh, yeah, they're right in my pocket. She's like, yeah, the next showings they're trying to show and they can't get in the house. So here I put my foot through the ceiling. I'd stolen the keys, and I'm just like,
saving this for
Lord,
later.
am I supposed to be doing this? Like, what is wrong with me? And I call my mentor at the time, Chris, and he's just like, Derek, you are not an inspector. You are a real estate agent. He said, I never want to catch you in an attic again. So I haven't been in another attic.
That's good advice. Stay out of the crawl space with the spiders.
Yeah. So,
that's someone else's job.
Yeah, I just shine the light down for him now. So
very good. Well, very good. That's a good story, actually. A clean story. I was afraid of what we might get into here because I'll tell you,
get crazy.
Matt Anderson had a story. I had to cut it out, and we might do a whole story series because of. I'm like, funny. I don't know if I can put this on here. So I don't know what YouTube's policies are. Right. Very good. So thank you again, Derek, for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And guys, that's going to be it for us this week. Remember, when you're watching the video, click it, like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we will see you guys next week.